Hello and welcome back, everyone. This is Lesson 9, Section 2. We are talking about Khufu and Senusret, and that is going to be the Egyptian pharaohs. All right, so let's go ahead and get to the bell work. Bell work is on the board, so make sure you jot that down as long as you're following along in the document. I will analyze how different pharaohs ruled Egypt. There's going to be different strategies depending on who the person is, and then also what kingdom of Egypt we are talking about. We're going to do four total pharaohs in the whole, two today and two in 9.3. So stay tuned for that as we'll be comparing and contrasting. All right, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so Pharaoh Khufu. All right, here's the enunciation. It's pronounced Khufu. All right, so like with O's, I know it's used, but it's kind of has that O-U sound. All right, so Pharaoh Khufu ruled from 2551 to 2528 BCE. All right, doing the quick math in my head, that is about 23 years Khufu was the pharaoh. All right, and the picture on the right here is a statue or something carved of what represents Khufu himself. All right, he ruled during the Old Kingdom. If you recall, the Old Kingdom is within this range of years, the 2551 to 2528 BCE. Remember, before year zero. And Khufu was probably most known for is architecture. Remember the designs of buildings and the architecture of specifically pyramids. The Old Kingdom is when a lot of these monumentous pyramids were built, right? The wonders of the world. So these pyramids kind of developed not all under Khufu, but he had these ideas. This is one of his biggest things to remember him by. All right, so let's go to make architecture our keyword. Architecture is going to be our keyword. That is architecture, our keyword. Some people knew Khufu as harsh, others as kind. Um, that's kind of the way of the world, right? Depending on who you talk to, some people view some people as harsh, some as kind. There's going to be varying opinions. There was a wide range of opinions on Khufu and what he stood for. But just remember, pyramid architecture is kind of his go-to thing. All right, so what is Khufu famous for? We just said it and we just emphasized that. If you look at the keyword there, that will be pyramid architecture. Pyramid architecture was kind of Khufu's biggest thing. All right. So Khufu wanted pharaohs as the authority figure of Egypt. That was kind of being established at the time. Authority means the controlling power. Depending on where you are, there you have a different person that is the authority. In public, that's going to be the police officers, and then they go into the government is kind of the authority. They're kind of running and making sure the laws are being followed. In a school, whether that's a teacher or the principal, mainly as the authority power. And then if you're at home, it's the caregiver, right? Mom, dad, grandpa, whoever you're living with is going to be the authority. They're going to be the ones making the decisions. Whoever's paying the bills, right, is typically going to be the authoritative power. Um, they maintained, the pharaohs did, strict control over the food supply. And the reason behind that is they needed to make sure that they had enough food to feed everybody over the seasons of flooding, right? So during flooding season, you can't plant, you can't grow more things. So they had to make sure that the food that they had from the harvest season previously is enough to last them throughout the seasons they are not growing anything. All right, so if people just took whatever food they wanted at all times, well, they wouldn't be able to last all the months of the year and all the rotations of the moon. So uh, somebody had to be strict about it. So therefore, these diets were pretty reserved. They were pretty. The diets weren't very filling, if you will. All right, so Khufu had a big staff of government officials. Remember, we had to kind of distribute the power here because a pharaoh can't do everything. They can't be everywhere at once, especially as Egypt expands. You can't just expect one person to make every decision. You have to have government officials who report to the pharaoh to kind of distribute the power from there. All right, and Khufu also declared himself a god. Let's make declared our keyword. Declared is going to be our keyword. That is declared our key word. So he told the people of Egypt, "Yeah, I am a god." All right, and so that was like our first connection of Egyptian pharaohs, gods, goddesses, priests, and all of that being lumped together. All right, so Khufu was the authority over the Egyptians when he was pharaoh. Who is the authority at your home? Remember, typically that is going to be the person that you live with, the adult in the house. So that's going to be your authoritative person, decision making from there. All right, so Khufu had the pyramid at Giza built. The pyramid at Giza is going to be the most famous of the Egyptian pyramids. It is known as one of the wonders of the ancient world. I made this reference in previous games. I grew up playing a game called Age of Empires. In Age of Empires, one of the modes in order to win is you have to gather enough resources to make your civilization big enough in order to build a wonder. All right, well, this is the wonder of Egypt. It is just it, the reason why it's called a wonder is because it's hard to fathom that they were able to build something like this 4,000 years ago, right? How without the technology, without the just all like the cranes and the things that move bricks. Like, how were they able to do this? It took a lot of manpower. It took mathematics and geometry. Um, Pretty cool. And this all happened under the ruling of Khufu, at least a majority of it, because it did take 20 years to build. 20 years to build this building, and it makes sense, right? Because you're going brick by brick. That is 2 million bricks. 2 million that it took to build this pyramid. All right, and how are you making these bricks? All right, so it's dried mud and like it's technique, it's manpower, it's coordination, it's so many different things. It's hard to fathom that this was built, hence wonder, right? And surrounded by and the pyramid is also surrounded by statues too, monuments, small tombs. There's a lot going on here. This photo you only see about one or two statues, but you see giant pillars in front. There is, I mean, there is a lot going on. This is a just an absolute phenomenon. And Khufu would build something under his leadership because he didn't build it himself. All right, the people did, the peasants did. Under his leadership, it was something that would last thousands of years. So thousands of workers constructed it. All right, constructed meaning built. So let's make constructed our keyword. Constructed is going to be our keyword. That is constructed, our keyword. Thousands of workers, 20 years, 2 million blocks later, and here we are. We have the pyramid at Giza. All right, so how many years did it take to build the Pyramid of Giza? I wonder how long it would take today. But in ancient times, it would take 20 years. All right, are more than halfway through the video talking about Khufu, and now we're going to switch gears to yet another pharaoh. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Pharaoh Senusret. Pharaoh Senusret ruled from 1971 to 1926 BCE. Senusret reigned during the Middle Kingdom of Egypt. Remember, there was about 200 years in between each kingdom of turmoil, of war, of unrest. Well, Senusret was able to get the ball rolling in it's about 43 years, quick math, of rule. And reigned, meaning is not like rain from the sky, it's not precipitation. Reign, spelled Reign, is a pyramid of time where somebody rules. So Senusret's rule from 1971 to 1926 BCE. Okay, so thousands of years ago. Senusret was a strong leader. Senusret unified Egypt, bringing it back together after periods of unrest, as we were talking about. So it's key to get somebody to get the Egyptians, or whoever you are, like leadership. You want a leadership to kind of bring everybody together, so you're working um, like with like harmoniously, right? I don't know if I said that correctly, but in harmony. Um, so art, literature, architecture, all these things started thriving under Senusret. All right, literature, obviously, meaning reading, writing, um, art. We have the statues, we have the architecture going again, pyramids, temples, sanctuaries, all of this under Senusret. Okay, so we're going to make leader our keyword. Leader is going to be our keyword. That is leader. Leader, our key word. All right, what picture best describes the vocab word rain? All right, is it the one on the left, the one in the middle, or the one on the right? Well, hopefully you said rain, meaning a period of time where somebody is in power, implying the middle picture with the crown and the stick with made of gold, right? Okay, Senusret's greatest accomplishment is religious architecture. So we have obviously the pyramids under Khufu architecture, right? But this time we're kind of shifting gears more to the religious shrines, the temples, those type of things under Senusret. If you look at the picture of the bottom right corner, that is the white chapel built in Egypt. All right, these could be chapels like this, religious shrines throughout the Egyptian Empire and the civilization throughout the Nile River area. Um, and if anything was damaged, Senusret would have it improved or rebuilt. Okay, because obviously this is a time where war was common. All right, war in the ancient times is happening pretty much all the time somewhere. And the chapel, which was going to make chapel our keyword, chapel is going to be our keyword. That is chapel, our keyword. The chapel was made of hard white stone, and it was a temple to worship the gods. Remember, the Egyptians were polytheistic. All right, polytheistic means belief in multiple gods. This is before our major religions of the world that we're going to be talking about shortly. A lot of these major religions are monotheistic. Mono meaning one. All right, so one God. Right. So that's the difference between some of these ancient civilizations and society today. All right, so Senusret's greatest accomplishment is religious architecture. Well, that is thumbs up, thumbs down, and that would be true. All right, so the legacy of Senusret. Senusret's artwork decorated the chapel pillars. All right, so you still have a matter of picture of these things still existing today, a couple without heads. But for the most part, these structures and these statues decorated still stand. All right, just again, standing the test of time, no pun intended, 4,000 years, and through all the elements to just still exist. And these statues include birds, they include animals, they include Egyptian symbols dating back thousands of years. If you look at the picture, if you were able to zoom in, you can see the hieroglyphics writing on the walls, these symbols. Remember, the hieroglyphics is the way of writing and using pictures as kind of the words, right? And Senusret wanted his memory to live on for years and years and years. Okay, so that was kind of the goal, and he was able to succeed because we are still talking in history class 4,000 years later about Senusret and the Egyptian legacy. So nice job there. Not many people are talked about 4,000 years later. Um, Few of his buildings lasted, though. A lot of the buildings that you still see today are going to be built in the Old Kingdom somehow, the oldest of buildings, right? Like the pyramid at Giza. Um, the Whitechapel was a kind of did fall apart. However, in modern time, it has been reconstructed to resemble what it was like during the Middle Kingdom of Egypt and what it was like during the rule of Senusret. All right, so lasting through time. All right, so let's go to make reconstructed our keyword. Reconstructed is going to be our keyword. That is reconstructed, our keyword. All right, we are all set. Like and subscribe. I'll come around if you have any questions. So long, everybody.